very good morning and welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Owino, and as usual, I'm going to be your host for today. A friend of mine was telling me, cracking jokes that I'm be your host for today because we don't know tomorrow.
No one knows, man.
No one knows. No one knows what tomorrow.
Anybody who knows about tomorrow, let him tell us how tomorrow will look like.
No one knows. No one even knew that Rigathi Gachagua will be impeached by the members of parliament.
Knows.
Anyway, let us just jump direct to our discussion because there are a lot of things that we need to do during the day, and Professor is also very busy. But I just decided to call him so that we can talk about this thing in less than 20 minutes, just very briefly. Professor,
yes,
the issue of the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, as we all know the way it has gone, it has reached a point that now William Ruto is supposed to appoint, or is supposed to have a new DP. Suppose. Because I've even seen this issue, the case has been taken to Milimani Low Court, whereby judge has been the case has been presented by the Tomata Komi.
Yes.
Yeah. So 5 judges are being formed to handle the case. Yes. So Rigathi Gachagua decided not to jump to the High Court. Yeah. Anyway, what do you think? Because as it stands right now, there are a lot of rumors that there are almost 6 possible people that are going to replace Rigathi Gachagua. We have got the main person that I want us to discuss, I'll mention last. So any person that I mention last, that is one that I want us to talk about. We have got Kithure Kindiki. Of course, Ndini Nyoro have been supporting Rigathi Gachagua, so he cannot be included there. We have got the governor of Kirinyaga, that is Anne Waiguru. We also have who else? Probably somebody like
Kangata.
Kangata is also there. We have Wamatangi is there, and also Kimani Chungwa.
Kimani Chungwa is there.
Kimani Chungwa is there.
Yes.
And Baba Raila Odinga.
But you've forgotten one also.
Who's that?
Actually, Musalia Mudavadi's name has been mentioned. Yeah. Mbadi. They've also talked about possible Kalonzo Musyoka.
But now, what is the game? Because bringing in Raila Odinga, mentioning the name of Raila Odinga, it means that he's going to boycott the AUC seat. And we know very well that you cannot mention once the name of Raila Odinga is mentioned, there must be something. We remember during the time of the CS, when the CS came in, Raila Odinga was given a portion. So it means that he has got as a part and parcel of this government. And remember back in 2023, there's a statement that Raila Odinga made. Raila Odinga said that let William Ruto do censors for his deputy. Yeah, censor motion.
First of all, let's talk about the merit of the case in the Milimani Low Courts briefly.
Yeah.
It might not stop the Senate impeachment. Because what's happening, there's something in law that when there's a certain path that is being followed, we don't stop it so that we take another local path, because this is a legal path. The legal path of impeachment of process is a process. It's like when you are cooking ugali using millet, we cannot say ugali will not be prepared, so we stop the cooking and now start cooking ugali using maize flour. Yeah. So we just allow it to finish, and then we see whether ugali will be okay, whether everything is okay. So this is a process. So you cannot evaluate it as part of the process, because what they are going to quote is that the parliamentary process of impeaching Rigathi Gachagua might have not followed the right process. But you see now, the process has begun, it has not been concluded. Just like you cannot go to Supreme Court when elections are now being tallied, that this election is not going to give us the right candidates. We wait until the candidate is eventually declared as elect. That's when you go to Supreme Court. So it's unlikely that Milimani Low Courts will stop the Senate
from doing their
process of now removing, because Parliament has impeached him. So the Senate needs to now remove him from office. He has to go through Senate trial. So that will just continue to see whether the thing has been done well. But I know very well that the ruling by Milimani Low Courts could be used in the final ruling, should the Senate impeach, eventually remove him from office, and now they want to take up the process of looking for how to find justice for Deputy President. I also know that Deputy President will be impeached, and that any other legal will happen after he has been impeached, and most likely another replacement will be gazetted overnight. So you'll be waking up finding that he's no longer the deputy president, and there's somebody who has been nominated to take over office.
And the other case.
And as the case is being heard, the guy will actually assume office because they're gonna move out of speed. And I can tell you, now we have moved to that point where people need, where these politicians become very conniving, and they will break any law possible in their land to ensure Gachagua is out with enough time and gazetted. No one should have been gazetted that you are no longer the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. You are out of office.
You're out of office.
Even security withdrawn officially because it has been gazetted. His residence in Karen, he should depart. He should not use that title. Every benefits that come with it will be gone. In fact, that's the time your driver tells you, bye, mimi naenda kuchukua mwingine. So that's what will happen. So there is no merit. But at the end of it all is when now the Supreme Court, now High Court, will start speaking by saying, we look at the whole process, this stage and that stage was flawed, therefore this cannot, because you do not know, Senate might actually send Parliament back to check on something they have not done, is when they go back to Senate to be able to rectify. So that's why you cannot stop the process halfway. You have to allow the process to continue until the end. Even in pregnancy, you cannot say that I suspect this pregnancy might not give us a baby. Let us get rid of it. Unless you have very reliable information. Of course, as a Catholic, we don't believe in abortion. You go with the pregnancy to the end. So because of that, that might not have merit. But let me come to the substance of the matter. You know, Kindiki was supposed to be the deputy president in the beginning. In fact, when the president had actually known that his choice was Rigathi Gachagua. But he tried to play games that he's going to give the MPs a chance to pick. But he knew. So Rigathi Gachagua actually received 3 votes. Waiguru received 1 vote. So in the pecking orders, Kindiki was leading. He was leading at that time. But now whether his credibility remains as solid as it was is a story for another day. Of course, William Ruto knows that during the Mandamano headed by Raila, Kindiki really helped. Even in this Mandamano against the Gen Z, he helped, but helping here means negatively to the citizens, because actually so many people are killed, so many people are injured, so many people were abducted. So all that presiding over that thing has given Kindiki some very dark image. For example, as Gen Zs, we don't like him. Gen Zs now has become Generation Sorte. So don't ask me whether I'm still too young. So Gen Z is now a Generation Sorte. Anybody who believes in that revolution is now a Gen Z. So this made it less. But as things went by, you found that when this trip to New York happened in the Onga, you saw Baba was all over the place. You could see the photos were there. You could see they were very close until even ODM was saying, they stole our election, for us we have stolen their president. So you see those things, the closeness, the proximity was very cordial. And you could see like Raila and Ruto speaking from the same
script.
So this could suggest that this is happening. And when you hear Raila Odinga's names being mentioned, you don't take it for granted.
There must be something.
Yes, they say when you see smoke, fire is just around the corner. So the Kalonzo story is, a Kalonzo story could be pushed by Uhuru's family, because Uhuru's family may be in the planning of succession plan. Remember, that family would like to stay in power. So they will not just believe that they can give up now, because if they don't find a way to replace somebody now, they might have trouble. So maybe if Kalonzo becomes the deputy president, then you see Uhuru's brother can now emerge and can run on Azimio, which is the person who has all the documentation of Uhuru Kenyatta and Jubilee. So that can actually change the political terrain. So for that matter, Kalonzo would be Uhuru's thing. And you saw today in the front page, they say only 3 men can save Gachagua. One is Uhuru Kenyatta, 2 Raila, and 3 Ruto. And I told you earlier, these people are in a WhatsApp group somewhere.
They know something.
Chat.
They chat.
Whatever they chat about, whether they agreeing or disagreeing, we don't know, but they chat. It's impossible they are not chatting. I thought the person who is not that WhatsApp group could be Kalonzo, maybe, but these 3 people are in the same WhatsApp group. They have defined the politics of this country.
They know it.
Yes, pre-Moi. Pre-Moi, they were defining the politics. Post-Moi, they defined it. So they must be talking. Even if they're not agreeing, singing the same song, but they must be talking. So for that matter, if the fact that they're the only people who can save Gachagua, it also becomes apparent that there's not going to define who is the next what? Deputy. So now, I think it's too late for anyone from Kenya to apply for AU because the application was supposed to be somewhere in August, isn't it? It has ended. So if he pulls out, only 3 people remain. Had it not been there, Uhuru Kenyatta had wanted to become AUC chair. Uhuru Kenyatta could have pushed that Raila become the DP and he goes to AU. But now that card is not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
But also, Raila pulling out of the AUC race and becoming deputy president gives room that Uhuru can now apply for the next election, isn't it? And he might actually make it. But if Raila takes it, he may want to go 2 terms. So these are all the arithmetic these guys are asking. Of course, they check how old am I, how strong am I, and all those questions. But nevertheless, wanasema hata tuseme paka mzee kunywa maziwa. So they believe they can still live longer and no one can talk about people's age. Only God is left to discuss this. We are not allowed as human beings to determine what age someone can do with. Because I've seen Wole Soyinka at 90. He's still so strong.
So strong. But I was watching him walking. I was like, is this guy 90 years old really? People
should not start talking about Raila's age or Kalonzo's age. Age is not going to be a factor in the next election or in any other thing. Age will never be a factor because in Africa we believe that old people like Raila Odinga are like libraries. When they die, it's like a library is on fire. So the more Raila lives, the better for us. Because he is historian, he has a lot of memory. He tells us things that was done before your grandfather was born. So let him continue and let's support that. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that Raila candidature is a wild card. And no one expects it. And it is a surprise that Ruto will give us. And Ruto has been very surprising. When Ruto picked Gachagua, he surprised the whole world. Isn't it? When Ruto named his cabinet, there was a lot of surprise. When Ruto dissolved the cabinet, it was again surprise he dissolved the cabinet.
When he decided to support Raila, AUB...
That was a surprise. Reject the finance bill after putting a lot of money on it with MPs. That was a surprise. So Ruto has surprised us. He said he had a plan. We thought the plan was for Kenya. It is his personal plan. So he has surprised us anyway. So even the naming of the DP will not be Kenyan plan, will be his plan, personal plan. So because William Ruto wants to not to go through election in 2027, the best thing is to pick Raila. And when Raila is his DP,
they can do everything they want for very many years.
Yeah, they can do a lot of things.
We're going back to Moi's era.
If they're in the same WhatsApp group with Uhuru also, then who can speak? Can you tell me who can stand against Ruto, Uhuru, and Raila together?
No one. No one.
Well, I mean, you must know your game. It's possible, but you have to have your game plan. But Gen Z can do.
That the Gen Zs can do.
Yes, and that's what we are going to do. If they come to the same WhatsApp group against us in the coming election, they want to amend the constitution so that they can stay in power forever without an election, we will stand against it.
Professor, what if
people's power is higher power?
What if they do that and then they start mobilizing the Gen Z and then bring them to power too?
You know, Gen Z, you cannot mobilize enough. That's the problem. And I can tell you, there's what you call the theory of saturation. You can take some of them like they have tried, isn't it? But, you know, sugar cannot dissolve in a glass of water. Not
at the same time.
Yes. There'll be some amount of sugar that will now... Yes. So how many Gen Zs can you bring to the government?
Even if you...
Cabinet has 23. Isn't it? PSS maybe 49. Isn't it? So the government can only absorb a certain number.
Let's say 70.
Yes, and if you want to put some of them on money, you can only spend so much on them. And you know...
And they can play with your mind.
The young people are 70% of the Kenyan population is 35 and below. And if you look at the population of Kenya, which is 53 million, isn't it? That figure is almost 40 million. How can you put 40 million people in your pocket giving them allowances? It's impossible.
And Professor, as we wind up, do you think Rigathi Gachagua is going to survive the Senate? That is on 16th and 17th, because those are the dates that...
the Senate will impeach him.
Will impeach him? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure about that. The Senate will impeach him because William Ruto has never lost a political battle. And this is so important. Imagine, Boniface, if I would put a gun on your head, then when I release the trigger, I discover there was no bullet. Can you still see me as a friend?
No.
If Gachagua survives, Ruto is in trouble.
Yeah.
It can end on in impeachment. It can end on Gachagua. The Ruto's powers are completely gone. He will never ever speak. So I think Ruto will put every amount of money. And I told you, it doesn't matter how much money is needed. For politics, you can put as much money as possible. So he's going to put all the money. But let's discuss something more about Raila before we get deviation. But the issue is, what is the implication for Raila's withdrawal from AUC seat
to become the DP
and taking the DP position? And then on the fact that the diplomatic image Kenya gets, because that is very key. Secondly, these people say they are going to spend around 50 billion shillings in mobilizing election for Raila. I'm sure they have spent at least 10 billion by now, isn't it? How do you account for such amount of money? And then people have been speaking like Luos, like you see, Luo Nyanza, they say that Raila is going to be above Ruto by being the president of Africa. Now he becomes his deputy. So you see, those has a lot of implications, even for the legacy of Raila. You know, they say that in your deathbed, you don't look at small things, you look at big things. Yeah. So in the sunset days of Raila Odinga, how do you deputize the devil? You know, for me, I'm still waiting to hear that happens. How do you deputize the devil? The common enemy for all Kenyans is one William Ruto. Yeah. That's why people said before. The survey shows that when Gen Z says that Ruto must go, 82% of the population of Kenya were with the Gen Z, believing that Ruto is the devil. So how do you support your devil? Because what Ruto thinks is that by having Raila, he is going to have the entire Nyanza, isn't it? And then at Western Kenya, and then he ignores the
Mrima.
Because if Raila does become deputy president, Ruto should forget totally the mountain.
Yeah.
And there is no single government that has ever been formed when Kikuyus voted otherwise. You look at the one for Moi, Kikuyus were in it. They voted for him. Kibaki, we're having a Kikuyu versus Kikuyu. Yeah. So they had no choice. Then Uhuru, the Kikuyu voted for him. In this one, Ruto, Kikuyus voted for him. Tell me any single government where Kikuyus have never voted for. So having Kikuyus to vote against you is going to be so hard. But another thing which I want to say is that Ruto is not saying, Ruto is a clever politician, so he knows very well that Raila will not bring the Luo vote, isn't it? But Raila will be used as a poster boy. You know, a poster boy? Someone saying that I'm going to bring Luo vote. Then they'll use Raila and ODM to rig the election and say that Luos voted 98% to Ruto because Raila is inside. But they're going to rig election. That's why I, as Fred Ogola, there is a need for us to stage a very serious voter recruitment in Luo Nyanza that should vote against William Ruto, isn't it? And then at the same time, ensure we protect that vote so strongly and ensure that Luos are not counted to have made Ruto the president second term. Because you see, Kikuyus were said to have voted for Ruto and made him president. But Baba Yao revealed in my presence in Rongai that they stole the vote for William Ruto. He said it on camera. So
but they said it.
So that for me is a big statement. So Luos should not be used to steal votes and be able to bring Ruto back. Then we say this government was voted by the Luos. And I'm asking Luos, please be careful. And look at me, Luos. Since the beginning, our enemy number one has been government. All our 200 Luos, the big boys of Luos, have died in their sword. We cannot look like we're the ones now legitimizing Ruto by giving him a second term. It is bad for those who gave him the second term. first term, it is worse and worst for those who will give him a second term. Kwa sababu makosa mara ya kwanza si makosa, lakini makosa ya kurudia ni makosa kubwa sana. So Luos, don't be part of makosa ya kurudia. Ruto, we have known him. No one will say he doesn't know him. Let us reject Ruto. Even if Raila tells you he likes him, let us reject Ruto. We won't reject Raila. If Raila says he wants Ruto, let us not reject Raila. But we should just reject what he says. Because Raila is our son, but we cannot go by everything he says. Maybe there's a time when one person who has been right for so long is wrong. Thank you.
After all, guys, that is all we have for today. And until on 20th of this month, that is when we'll know who is going to replace Rigathi Gachagua in case he will be impeached as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Until we meet again, I've been your host, Boniface Awino. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my